After you won a piece in the opening, the game was yours. Let's take a look. A classic, eh? You're aiming for the center early. They're prepping their dark squared bishop for a long diagonal, huh? Okay. That's how you gain space in the center. Now your pieces have room to breathe. Bishop g7 puts the bishop on the long diagonal in a move called a fianchetto. That's how you develop the knight while eyeing the center. Textbook, solid play, sticking to standard opening theory. Developing that bishop, good job. Gotta get those pieces in the game early. Your opponent's ready to push a pawn into the center. Someone wants some space, huh? Kingside castling, classic. Can't argue with that. Oh, your opponent is attacking the center with their bishop. Standard stuff. Not the worst move, but not the best either. Your opponent moved the pawn out of danger. Good for them. Smart move. You found a safer square for your knight. Not the best move, too bad. This sets up the threat to capture a pawn and win material after the follow-up trades. Bringing out the knight to control the center. Alright. Moving your piece to safety was the right call. Live to fight another day. Your opponent is making a fair trade. Standard. An even trade. Balanced until your opponent messed it up. Advantage to you now. That's how you develop the bishop while eyeing the center. A fair trade? Your opponent found the only move that works. Classic. Your opponent exchanged pieces of equal value. Now what? Excellent move. That's how you play chess. Your opponent moved the rook out of danger. Good for them. Trading equal material, that's fair. Your opponent is making a fair trade. Standard. Fair trade, I suppose. Your opponent exchanged pieces of equal value. Now what? An equal trade? Okay. A straightforward recapture, huh? Okay, nothing too crazy there. Putting that knight where it belongs. Putting that knight where it belongs. The center is the place to be. They missed a chance to castle to the same side as the opponent. You didn't choose the best way to connect rooks. Both kings castled. Solid. Let's see what happens. You're threatening to capture a pawn and win material after the follow-up trades. You are now able to capture a pawn and win material after the follow-up trades. Gaining a tempo by attacking a rook. Nice. Your opponent saves their rook. Probably didn't want to lose it. Nice. A free pawn after these trades are completed. I'd take that any day. They just recaptured. Simple stuff. Let's see what happens next. Logical recapture. They are threatening to win material through a fork. This keeps your opponent from being able to win material through a fork. So your opponent has a losing position? It's gone downhill for them. Bad times, eh? Ignoring a chance to move a rook to safety. Good for them. I guess this is the only good move. An even trade. A straightforward recapture, huh? Okay, nothing too crazy there. Good job finding a defender for that pawn. Textbook. Smart, you provided an escape square for the king. A solid choice. Waking up the king, endgame style. There were worse moves, but also something much better. Excellent move. You found the best option. Your opponent's position has worsened, eh? The advantage is yours, I guess. That's what I'm talking about. Clutch move under pressure. They moved their rook to safety? Well, not exciting, but important. That's some big brain play right there. You're making them work for it. Nice defense. This is just the strongest option. Very precise. Doubled rooks. Good stuff, good teamwork. Your opponent is making a fair trade. Standard. That recapture was a logical move. They are threatening to capture a pawn and win material after the follow-up trade. Excellent move. Top marks. Your opponent exchanged pieces of equal value. Now what? That passed pawn is free to roll now. Your opponent is making a fair trade. Standard. Good recapture. Fork incoming? Looks like your opponent has a chance to win material if they play correctly. Solid enough, I guess. Could be worse. The best move. Simple as that. That's what I'm talking about. Clutch move. Smart. Textbook. Slipping away from that check. Nice. Their better move was to defend a pawn that was under attack. That's how you handle a tough spot. Well played. You blocked the check. Excellent move. You're logical. That's how you handle a tough spot. Well played. The check is coming, and your piece is left undefended. Oh no. Logical recapture. Your opponent defended their pawn, which was under attack. Exciting. That passed pawn is getting dangerously close to promotion. They just took your pawn for free. Oh dear. Oh dear. That passed pawn is looking dangerous. One step closer to glory. Excellent move. Good. You moved your king out of check. Putting their rook on a safer square? I guess so. Push that passed pawn all the way to the end. Get that promotion. Thumbs up for this one. Good job getting out of check. Staying alive is always step one. A solid choice. Smart move. Gotta keep the king safe. Your opponent is keeping an eye on your passed pawn. Can you handle pushing that passed pawn? Keep rolling. A passed pawn? Your opponent is pushing it closer to promotion. One step closer to promoting that passed pawn. Keep pushing. Excellent move. Pushing that passed pawn, eh? Getting dangerous. That passed pawn is getting dangerously close to promotion. A passed pawn? Your opponent is pushing it closer to promotion. Uh-oh. Nice. Your piece is now ready for action. Smart move. Thumbs up for this one. Slipping away from that check? Nice. A solid choice. Good. You moved your king out of check. Pushing that passed pawn, eh? Getting dangerous. That's what I'm talking about. Clutch move under pressure. They moved their rook to safety? Well, not exciting, but free pawn? Yes, please. Excellent move. Very nice. Their king stepped out of the check of your rook. That passed pawn is looking dangerous. One step closer to glory. This is just the strongest option. Very precise. Good job getting out of check. Staying alive is always step one. The best move. Simple as that. Smart move. Gotta keep the king safe. You get a chance to promote a pawn to a queen. You promoted your pawn to a queen. Pretty sure that's a good thing. Textbook. You're still pushing for checkmate, eh? I see what you're doing. Your opponent moved the rook out of danger. Meh. Keeping the pressure on. I like your style. Thumbs up for this one. Keeping the pressure on. I like it. Getting closer to checkmate. Your opponent saves their rook. Probably didn't want to lose it. Staying focused, I see. Checkmate is getting closer. This is just the strongest option. Very precise. Slipping away from that check. Nice. Solid move. Your pawn promotes to a queen. The best move. Simple as that. You're still pushing for checkmate, eh? I see what you're doing. Your opponent moved the rook out of danger. Checkmate. You're the best. You're still pushing for checkmate, eh? Your opponent moved the rook out of danger. Keeping the pressure on. I like your style. Your opponent blocked the check from your queen. Can you break through? Checkmate's coming. Free rook, the best kind. King steps away from the check by your queen. I guess that's one way to deal with. Keeping the pressure on. I like it. Getting closer to checkmate. Their king stepped out of the check of your queen. Standard king. Checkmate. You finished them.